Fellas, I'm going to be but picking who I want to become champion by the end of 2024 in every weight class. This is purely just who I want to become champion, so it might not be the most realistic takes. It's also, don't get offended if I don't pick your favourite fighter. Don't call me a dedicated hater. This is purely just who personally, in my opinion, I would like to see as champion in every weight class by the end of 2024. So pretty self-explanatory. Let me know who you want to become champion, but the first division in heavyweight, I'm going to pick Tom Aspinall. I want him to become champion, and I want him to unify the belt by the end of 2024. Now, the reason is, well, let's talk about his personality first. I think he's just a really likeable guy. I don't see how you can hate Tom Aspinall as a person. He's a likeable guy, good role model, and the way he moves as well. He's really active, willing to fight, doesn't turn down any fights. I mean, the guy literally brutally injured his leg last year, and he's already fought twice this year, one of them being for the belt, or at least the interim belt. So for that reason, yeah, I'm going Tom Aspinall personality-wise. Really nice guy. And it would just be a breath of fresh air to see a guy that's willing to fight really often, unlike John Jones. Now, I know that Jones got injured, and, it wasn't really his fault, but I just want to see a guy like Aspinall who just goes in there, doesn't give a fuck who he's fighting, but just fights. And then when we talk about his actual fighting skill, I mean, the record speaks for itself. He's got the shortest average fight time in the UFC, S-tier striker, S-tier grappler, one of the most exciting fighters to watch in the UFC right now, in my opinion. And it would just be good to see a guy like Aspinall go in there and start, starching some of these contenders. I'd love to see him against, Jailton Almeida or Cyril Gane or a Volkov rematch. Well, actually, I wouldn't want to see a Volkov rematch after what happened in the first fight, but at least a Pavlovich rematch. I just want to see Aspinall fight, and a guy like that is who you want as a champion. So I wish Aspinall can unify his belt by the end of 2024, because there's always going to be people that are like, oh, Aspinall's not a real champion. He's a paper champion. He's an interim champion. Well, we all know that John Jones is the one refusing to fight Aspinall, not vice versa. But anyway, yeah, I want Aspinall to be champion by the end of 2024. After Jones retires, I want Aspinall to take over. So for heavyweight, I'm going Aspinall. Light heavyweight, I want it to be Alex Pereira. Yeah, the main reason is the rest of the light heavyweight division are pretty dull. I don't want Magomed Ankalaev as champion. I don't want Anthony Smith as champion. I wouldn't mind Jamal Hill or Yuri Prohaska as champion, or a Jan Blachowicz, but really, I want Pereira to stay as champion. Now, he is the current champion, the current undisputed champion, that is. And I just want him to stay as champion. There's nothing I can say that's bad about Alex Pereira at light heavyweight. He's active. I mean, the guy literally fought a few months after he got knocked out cold by Israel Adesanya. He got knocked out in, I believe it was April, and then fought in July against Jan Blachowicz in his light heavyweight debut, and then a couple months after that fights a guy like an absolute killer in Yuri Prohaska at UFC 295. So he's an active fighter, and when we talk about his actual in-octagon skills, I mean, the record speaks for itself. Slept Sean Strickland, finished Israel Adesanya, outstruck and, was kind of battering Jan Blachowicz after the first round, knocked out Yuri Prohaska. The guy's just an absolute killer in the octagon. One of the most dangerous. That left hook is one of the most dangerous moves you can have in any MMA kind of fight. So that he's got a weapon on that left hook, and he's also one of the best characters in the UFC. The whole stoic vibe, the fact that he's got a massive fan base around him, one of the best additions to the UFC roster. There's nothing I can really critique him on. So for that reason, I want Alex Pereira to stay as champion by the end of 2024. I don't want anyone really to dethrone him, and it would just be cool to see a guy like Pereira stay as champion. So yeah, light heavyweight, I'm going Alex Pereira. Middleweight, I'm going Robert Whittaker. Now, I don't mind Sean Strickland as a champion, but I feel like the middleweight division has just been really chaotic these last few years. Now, some of you might like that. Now, obviously, I don't want the fights to be boring. I don't want press conferences to be boring. We don't need any more UFC 290 press conferences, but it would just be a breath of fresh air to see a guy like Robert Whittaker win the belt and become a champion, basically. If we saw a Whittaker title run in 2024, that would be insane. Do I think he's going to be champion? No. He's lost to Adesanya twice. He's just been finished by Dricus du Plessis. I mean, he is back in there against Paulo Costa. I think it's UFC 298, I think it is. So we are getting to see him fight again soon, but I just love to see Whittaker as a champion. He's such a nice guy. There'll be one on Saturday night, he'd be fighting for his life against Dricus du Plessis, and then the day after he'd be back at home playing video games. The guy's just... I know I've said this about 50 times now. He's just a really nice guy. One of the most fluid strikers to watch. I love watching Whittaker fight. It's so nice watching Whittaker fight, whether it's a Cannonier fight or even an Adesanya fight, or the time he schooled Marvin Vettori in Paris. I love seeing Robert Whittaker fight, and I want to see him win the belt via the 1-2 head kick, his signature move, and I want to see Robert Whittaker become champion in the middleweight division by the end of 2024. I don't mind Strickland, I don't mind Dricus, but I just want to see Whittaker become champion. He's a nice guy, and I feel like it'd be great seeing him become champion. So for middleweight, I'm going Robert Whittaker. Welterweight, this is a weird one. I'm going with Michael Venom Page. I want to see MVP become champion. It would be absolutely crazy and entertaining and fun if we saw a guy like MVP debut and become champion in the same year. Now, I know Michael Chandler nearly did that, but if MVP could somehow debut and beat Holland, I think it's on UFC 299 or 298. I'm terrible with his cards, but whether he goes out there and, if he goes out there and starts as Kevin Holland, beats a contender, and then fights for the belt and becomes a champion all in the same year, that'd be crazy. I don't want to see Bilal Muhammad or Leon Edwards or Colby Covington. I wouldn't mind Shafkat, but I don't want to see these guys as champion. We need to make the welterweight division great again. And I think Michael Venom Page would be the guy to do that. The human highlight reel. This guy's the real human highlight reel. The fact that he's so good at using range. Such a smooth striker. If we could see MVP as the champion, it would make the welterweight division great again. So I'm picking MVP when he makes his UFC debut. I think it's, like I said, UFC 299, I think it is. If it's not, please correct me. But I want to see this guy make his debut in the same year that he becomes champion. And by the end of 2024, I want MVP to be champion. We need to make the welterweight division fun. So come on, MVP. Let's win the belt and bring it back to the UK. Lightweight division. I want Charles Oliveira. We've had him as champion before, and it was one of the funnest times ever. The reason it was so fun is because every single time we went into a Charles Oliveira fight, it was always kind of, we're on the edge of our seats. Is he going to win this fight or not? Like the Poirier fight, he got dropped early on, manages to submit him in the second round. The Chandler fight, nearly got finished, manages to finish him later on. The Gaethje fight, got dropped again, finishes Gaethje. The Beneil Dariush fight, there were so many people saying, oh, Beneil Dariush is too skilled for him. He's coming off, Charles Oliveira's coming off a loss. And then Beneil goes out there and gets knocked out. And he's kind of one of those fighters where he's never in a boring fight. He's either he's getting finished or he's doing the pause. It's either he's getting stopped or he's the one stopping his opponent. So I'm going to go Charles Oliveira. Goated personality. You can't dislike Charles Oliveira unless you're like a diehard Islam fan. I don't see how you can dislike Oliveira. So I want Oliveira to somehow shock the world and do what he normally does. Face some adversity early on and then finish Islam Makhachev later on in the fight. Yeah, I want to see Oliveira as the lightweight champion. We need this era back because it was one of the funnest eras in the lightweight division. Featherweight. I hope Volkanovski's still champion. I'm going to be honest. I don't want to see Volkanovski lose. If this guy gets slept by Ilia Topuria, that's going to be so depressing. We've just seen him get knocked out by Islam Makhachev. Now, that was at lightweight, and it was on 12 days' notice. I just want to see Volkanovski cement his legacy at featherweight. He already has, but I want to see him cement himself as the greatest featherweight of all time. I don't want to see Ilia Topuria knock him out or Movsar Evloev laying him for 5 rounds. I want to see Volkanovski do what he does and break the faces of all of these featherweights, like he did to Holloway, Brian Ortega, Yair Rodriguez, Korean Zombie, even at Islam in the first fight at lightweight. I want to see Volkanovski break these guys' faces, because the thing I like about Volkanovski, it's, personality-wise, he's one of the nicest guys. He's a good representative for the sport. But the main reason I really like Volkanovski is the fact that he's so ahead of all of these featherweights. Look at Max Holloway dominate all the featherweights, like he's done with Allen, like he's done with all these different contenders. And then look at what Volkanovski did to Holloway. Battered him. This guy is so ahead of these contenders. It's crazy. At featherweight, at least, the guy's just the skill gap is insane because of how good he is. And it's just so fun watching Volkanovski fight because of that reason. I want to see Volkanovski retire as the champion at the end of 2024 after, let's say, 2 successful defenses. So for featherweight, I hope Volkanovski can stay as champion, and I hope he can retire as the greatest featherweight of all time. So for featherweight, I'm picking Volkanovski. Bantamweight. Now, this is a weird one because there's a lot of personalities, but I've gone with Marlon Vera. I don't mind Sean O'Malley. I think he's a bit of a boring person. I think he's got a bit of a stubborn personality. In the octagon, he's really fun, though. I don't want to see Marab or Cejudo as champion. I wouldn't mind seeing Sandhagen as champion, but overall, I've picked Marlon Vera. I think he'd just be a really cool and badass champion. He's such a lethal striker, and the way he kind of, I don't know how to say it, the way he kind of just displays himself. Like, I actually kind of started to like this guy with his build up against Sean O'Malley. He comes across as a really kind of, yeah, just cool, and I'm not going to say nice guy, but he just comes across as a guy that I think would just be a really, really fun champion in the bantamweight division. Whether he's putting beatings on you like he did against Rob Font, or whether he's sleeping you like he did to Dominic Cruz, I just want to see bantamweight Marlon Vera champion, because I think this guy will be insane. Maybe he goes out there and sleeps Sean O'Malley. Maybe he just goes out there and starts starching all these contenders. And the good thing I like about Marlon Vera is how he gets more dangerous as the fight progresses. Round 1 Marlon Vera is not an easy guy to beat, but round 5 Marlon Vera is like the final boss, and he's just really cool. And his haircut progression as well. Different haircut every single fight. So I'm going to go with Marlon Vera for the bantamweight division. I just think he'd be a really cool champion. And finally, in the flyweight division, at flyweight I'm going Manel Kape. The UFC would be in absolute shambles if this guy became champion, throwing F-bombs everywhere, starting fights with everyone, but it's entertaining. I want to see Manel Kape, because the flyweight division, it's just a bit boring. Like, listen, no disrespect to Pantoja or any of these other guys, and I'm not talking about their fighting style, but as people, they're just not that entertaining. They've got good stories and everything, but I can't sit there and say I'm excited to listen to Pantoja or you know, watch an interview of Pantoja or Brandon Royval. Manel Kape's the opposite. Manel Kape, he would become an absolute menace in the flyweight division. This guy, with his rivalry that he's got with Kai Kara France or any of the other rivalries that he might create, I want to see Manel Kape as the flyweight champion, because he would make flyweight fun. This guy would be the guy to bring eyes to the flyweight division. He would be one of the biggest personalities. The fact that he's English, his language, like the fact that he's like constantly progressing his language of English, the fact that he's, you know, learning all this trash talk, the way he trash talked Israel Adesanya at the UFC 293 press conference, and the same with Kai Kara France. Personality wise, he would bring so much eyes to the flyweight division, and on the top of that, he's a fun striker as well. So he's got the fighting to back it up. So in the flyweight division, I want to see Manel Kape come in here, stir the pot in the flyweight division, and just start dominating these guys, because this guy, he's gonna make the flyweight division fun again. Let's put it that way. He's gonna make it fun again. So for flyweight, I'm going Manel Kape, and that is who I want to become champion in every weight class by the end of 2024. Let me know your thoughts on this. Let me know who you want to become champion in every weight class by the end of 2024. But thank you for watching.